I gathered some media people and some really strong anglers and said, hey, we'll get this content and we'll give it to these companies so they have no choice but to use it, because they can't say they don't have any to use if we're giving them some. So that's how it started.
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast, inspiring real women with a passion for fishing and the outdoors to go get their adventure on. Now, here's your host, Angie Scott and Barb Carey.
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast. Before we dive in, Barb and I wanted to wish everyone a Happy New Year! We are so incredibly pumped for 2019.
Introducing the new line of float suits by Ice Armor by Clam. With patent-pending motion float technology, it combines the security of a premium float suit with maximum mobility. Using a baffled, segmented design of the flotation material, we've created a line of float suits that are comfortable and flexible, so you can stay mobile on the ice. Breathable, waterproof, and flexible, our float suits have all the great features you expect from Ice Armor by Clam. Stay warm, stay mobile, and stay safe with the float suits from Clam Outdoors. Pursue the ice.
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast. I'm Angie Scott, and this is pretty exciting because this is the first kind of, I guess, long distance interview. We've done one in person that we haven't actually posted yet, but we've got Barb on the line, and we've got Shelly Holland who's back with us because we're going to be talking about the Woman on Ice event that's coming up at the end of January and the Woman Ice Angler Project that Shelly is on the team for. And you might remember her from episode 22 where Barb and her had a conversation about her journey in the outdoors and adventure area. So Shelly, welcome back to the show. You're actually, I think, our first return guest so far. So that's pretty cool.
Well, thank you. And thanks for asking me again. I'm happy to talk ice fishing.
Well, since we're just starting out this series about the Women Ice Angler Project, I think that I can maybe explain to the listeners who don't really know what it is. And what this particular event is, it's a media event. So years ago when I would shop in ice fishing catalogs, I would never see any picture of women ice anglers, and it started to annoy me. So I started this media project called the Women Ice Angler Project. And I called some friends of mine. One was an author, Christine. She's still with us, and she'll be on the show later in a couple weeks. And I gathered some media people and some really strong anglers and said, hey, we'll get this content and we'll give it to these companies so they have no choice but to use it, because they can't say they don't have any to use if we're giving them some. So that's how it started. And now we're in year 5, and it's just kind of continues to pick up steam. We've added the last day women can come and fish with us, and we're really excited about this year's destination, which is Lake Superior up in Bayfield, Wisconsin. So, just an absolute glorious fishery. I mean, one time fishing there, I caught 12 species. So you never know what you're going to catch. And I'm pretty excited about this year, but that's just kind of a little bit of the background of what this is.
Very cool. And I'm planning on coming up this year for the Saturday fishing event. So I'm super excited. I don't have a ton of ice fishing experience, but I understand there'll be guides available and equipment and all of that. So I'll be excited to get some footage and share with all the listeners from the event, and hopefully do another podcast based on the event itself once we get there. So that's going to be really cool.
And I'm so excited, and I'm really happy that Shelly is the first guest in this series, because I got to say, Shelly is, like, for me, she's my go-to angler. She's the one that I look to for. She's out there and she can find the fish. So, Shelly, you're a fish magnet, I know. How did you get involved in ice fishing to begin with? How did you become how far you've come today? How'd you start out?
Well, I really do have to give my boyfriend a lot of credit, Scott Seibert. He was into it big, and not just a little. This is what he did every weekend. He started fishing with ice fishing with Dave Gintz. Not started, he had been fishing, but he was fishing with Dave Gintz a lot and his brothers and good friends that Dave knows. And that was just his crew. And so when I met Scott, we were ice fishing every weekend, and that was fine. I loved adventure. I had never had so much success on the ice. I had ice fished before, but not with people that were quite involved like Scott and Dave Gintz and those guys were. But I have to mention my grandma in this. My grandma in the UP used to go fishing and clean the fish. And so I'm thinking way back then of those memories too. You know what I mean? So I just had to pop
That's
that
awesome.
in there,
and you are at her birthday party doing this interview, I will add. So hats off to Grandma.
Yeah, definitely. She used to clean the fish and cook the fish and catch the fish. So I think that's awesome. And I really would like to keep that tradition going for women, that you can go out, you can catch the fish, you can clean the fish, and we've always been cooking them. But yeah, it's been a great journey. And then just the evolution of ice fishing. Holy cow. When I started doing this 13 years ago, it has evolved so much in the past 13 years. Our equipment, our light augers, our flashers to find the fish, our mapping. I would say one of the most important things is mapping, because that just makes it so fun. It's an adventure right there in the palm of your hands when you have Navy on it. So it's really changed and became more fun than it ever was.
Yeah, Angie, I think you're gonna be surprised when you get out there. You know, it's just, and I think this is one of the reasons of the advancement of women in the sport, is because of the technology changes and the equipment changes. I mean, there's really nice suits now, and like you said, the lighter augers, and it's just easier to do. It's not sitting on a bucket with your grandpa freezing your tail off.
Exactly, for sure. I was always the kind of girl growing up that thought, why do all the boys get the fun stuff? It always seemed like the boys were doing the fun stuff. And now we get to do all the fun stuff we want. And as I grew up, I figured that one out real fast. I got my own boat. I had a motorcycle. I mean, I was like not going to be left out.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, some women don't have opportunities. So for us to be able to kind of get the word out and create these opportunities, because it can be a life-changing event, is getting involved with a life of adventure.
Oh, for sure. They talk about you see the world through your own lens. And I feel like the Woman Ice Angler Project is really out there in the lens for women to see. And I just love that, Barb. You've done such a tremendous job with this, and I'm so happy to be a part of it.
Well, you know, it's kind of things like this sometimes just kind of create themselves and have a life of their own. And I'm just hanging on and for the ride. And it has been amazing. Now, Angie, I don't even know how much ice fishing experience you have.
I literally think I've been out 3 times in my entire life, which is kind of crazy. The fact that I grew up in Minnesota, it just wasn't something that my family did. My dad, he had some ice fishing poles and he'd go out with his brothers or whatever occasionally. But as a kid, I just wasn't interested in going along because, like you said, sitting on a bucket out in the middle of the lake freezing my butt off just didn't sound like a whole lot of fun at that age. So so I'm and I see all these images now, now that I'm familiar with the Woman Ice Angler Project and seeing this on Facebook and watching the documentary that they did on, I guess it was last year's event. And I'm excited. I can't wait to experience all these new advances in ice fishing firsthand and, not just sitting out like we did the one time. I remember specifically going out as a kid, literally sitting on a bucket. And it was cold. So,
right.
Yeah, winter's brutal. We need Mr. Heater and we need our clam pop-up shelters.
Well, and I think the big thing is to get women engaged in this sport is a connection. Like you had Scott, Shelly, He was really your person that was. But if you don't have somebody like that, that's where we come in. And there's so many of these women's fishing clubs now. Wisconsin Women Fish, Women Anglers of Minnesota. So these women are finding these groups that are giving them that access to stuff like ice fishing. And it's just been phenomenal. And it's just, the numbers are growing like crazy. You wouldn't even believe how many women are getting into this.
Yeah, once you pull up a fish through the ice, it's just so exciting. For one thing, you don't know what it's going to be for sure. That makes it exciting. And being right down there at water level, I mean, you're walking on water. That's kind of cool. But pulling that fish up and being right at the water level, so different than fishing out of a boat where you're kind of pulling it up. There's a difference, that 4-foot difference. There's something about it that makes ice fishing super, super special.
I agree. And it's like a lot of people that don't have boats can't get out to the different spots on the lake.
Oh, for sure.
But when you can walk on the water, there, just walk wherever you want. And there's a lot of spots that are good close to shore. You don't have to be way in the middle or on the other side.
Oh my gosh. And you wouldn't know how many times that's where the good fish are. Big fish like to go in shallow. They're not afraid.
The one thing about our listeners, based on all the comments that I see on our Facebook page and stuff, they're really, really knowledgeable. So, I think that, I want to take this opportunity when I'm talking to you, Shelly, because you're just a wealth of knowledge. And, I just want to be able to give the listeners some tips on how they can be more successful on ice fishing. And, we all get to this spot, when we're fishing and we're kind of struggling and you can never find the fish and everyone else is catching fish and you're not, and then you have this breakthrough moment where you start putting everything together and it's like, oh my God, I'm finally getting it. Give the listeners here what are those things that help change it to the next level?
So even the best angler can have a rough day fishing. So you really got to put all kinds of different options, use them to your advantage. You have to keep trying different things. You don't sit in one spot too long. You could be wasting your day. So drilling more holes, trying different depths. If you're in 10 feet of water and not catching anything, go a little deeper or a little shallower. And your bait, your jig and your lure, if a red glow isn't necessarily working with a maggot, try maybe a white lure and put some Mackie plastic on it. That Mackie plastic has a little bit different presentation. It could be the mood of the fish, and the presentation has everything to do with how that fish is going to react and if he's going to bite and strike or not. So you have to try the fast jig and then maybe go to a slow jig. And you really have to pull out everything that you've ever learned ice fishing, because that's what I have to do sometimes, is use every single trick that I've been taught. And there's so many different tricks that I've forgotten tricks, and then it's like, oh yeah, and usually after I had a bad day on the ice, I'm like, oh, why didn't I try that? I think of it later, but I was thinking about that, switching it up, changing it around.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, the biggest mistake ice anglers make, whether it be men or women, is they just don't look hard enough. They're not drilling enough holes. It tends to be a social sport, so you kind of drill holes, put up a hub, and you end up not even moving. But I think the ones that find more success are, drilling more holes or finding a spot. And when you get those key spots, being able to kind of record those on your Navionics app. Like, I went fishing this afternoon. I had a meeting with a boat dealer. I went out ice fishing. I went right to one of my waypoints. It was something I marked years in the past, and sure enough, the place was just loaded with fish. But that's something that, I found after searching for lots of other times, and having the ability to record that and go back to those spots is something that the app on your phone called Navionics can do. And it's right on the map. It tells you exactly where to go. That's the game changer right there.
Yeah. And then what those fish are eating, I was just thinking about the time I was perch fishing and they were spitting up bloodworms. Well, then I put a Mackie Bloody on. It's mimicked to look like a bloodworm. And my gosh, I caught so many jumbo perch that day. It was just amazing. And I think had a lot to do with having the right bait at the right place. So if you have any clues to what they're eating, that helps too, I think.
As a novice listening to you talk and giving some advice, I'm curious, is there any way to kind of predict locations, like where to start drilling holes through the ice, or is it just kind of a crapshoot?
I would say a little of both, but it depends on your species. In my bluegills, I go off of the knowledge that I've already fished the past 14 years. So my bluegills are going to maybe be in 10 to 15 feet of water. My crappies are maybe going to be in a basin, maybe in a lake that has 30 feet deep, but then a nice tight line where it gets shallower. And so I would fish the edge of the basin, possibly, because they like to be suspended. Walleyes, depending on the day, maybe on a hump in the morning, like a 10-foot hump that has edges that go down to 30. Fish the edges and the hump and the bottom, stuff like that. So you get to know those things the more you fish. Barb, you probably got some.
Yeah, well, today I fish a lot of water. I'm in Wisconsin, Shelly's in Minnesota, and I fish a lot of water that has river channels running through it. So here you have an area that used to be a river that they dammed up and then flooded. And so a lot of those fish that I fish are relating to the edges of that river channel. I was fishing last week and I heard the latest report was, they're getting them in 13 feet of water. So me and like 5 other women went out there in 13 feet of water. I'm drilling a bunch of holes. I'm searching with the search bait. There's no fish. It's like, what the heck? So then I went to 15, then I went to 17, then I went to 20, then I went to 23, and boom, there were the fish. And then all the other gals came around and we sat there, we caught huge walleyes. But it's that kind of calculated decision making. Okay, they're not at 13 feet. Maybe they're at 16, maybe they're at 20, and then it's kind of like dissecting until you figure out what it is.
Yeah, and having the electronics, sometimes you can just drill a hole and look to see if you have fish down there, or use your camera to see if there's if the bottom looks like it might have fish, if there's weeds or something. So our technology is just mind-blowing. These fish still can be hard to catch, but we've got a lot of cool stuff.
Well, I can't imagine not fishing with a Vexilar. Like you go to a lake, some people, they're sitting there, they put their bait down. They don't know how deep they are or if there's fish there or not. I can't even imagine that. I just, I would go home.
Yeah, I have to agree.
But,
I have to agree.
Yeah, so those are the kind of things that are, we want to spread the word not only about ice fishing in general, but just all these little key equipment things that really make a difference, and teaching people how to use them. That's amazing.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about all these women fishing clubs is they get their own social network page where they're only talking amongst each other on social media. So they feel very comfortable to ask questions, and it's really neat to watch.
Oh, so one of our gals the other day said that she was on this public fishing forum, and, there was a lot of like negative talk and bashing and that. She goes, I'm out of here. I'm sticking with these women's only page, because people will tell you what they're, where they're fishing, what they're fishing for, and how they're doing it. And they'll give you information to help you be more successful. And they'll be more happy if you're successful than even if they caught them themselves. That's the big difference. We just want everybody to be doing well.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Angie, I want to know, what you're going to be wearing. Do you have what are you going to wear on the ice? You live in Nashville. I mean, there's no ice there. Do you have something to wear?
I do. I'm afraid I'm going to look a little foolish though, because I've been seeing some pictures of these cool suits that you all have, and so I was in the Coast Guard Auxiliary for a couple of years, and we learned about all the different equipment that they wear in the Coast Guard, and to stay safe in the cold water operations and things like that. And one of them it's called a Mustang. I guess it's a survival suit. I don't know if you've seen these that the Coast Guard wears in the cold weather conditions, but I actually, being as I live on a lake, and it does get cold here in the winter time, and we actually had ice last winter. It wasn't real thick, but it froze out around all the boats in the marina. And I bought one of these survival suits that I learned about when I was in the auxiliary. So it's got mostly black, but it's got orange, the Coast Guard orange on top, and it floats and all of that. So it should be safe.
Well, I tell you,
I'll definitely
be warm. You're going to be safer than the rest of us.
I know. Coast Guard, like, you're going to be pretty tricked out. Yeah. I want my picture with you.
Yeah. I actually wore it for the first time. I've had it for a couple years now, and I wore it for the first time this past October because in my office we always do this big all-out Halloween thing, and the theme this year in the section of my office was outer space. And so we were supposed to be astronauts, so I actually used it as an astronaut suit. And I bought
it a one piece?
I bought a little. Yeah, it is. And
oh gosh, I've always wanted one piece. I asked Clam to make it; they said no.
Well, the one thing
I would love. I think you'd be so warm in a one piece.
It's definitely warm, I'll tell you that. The one thing about it though is it is a little bulky. It's not as easy to move around in as I hoped it would be, but it's all I got, so it's just gonna have to do.
Yeah, it's warmer until you have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm fine with that. It doesn't take that long. But yeah. Well, I am going to be wearing. Oh gosh!
So I'm gonna tell a little bragging story about Shelly here. Last year this project was over in Otter Tail County, Minnesota, and we were searching for big bluegills and big panfish like crappies and stuff. So we didn't struggle, but we just didn't have the photo fish that we wanted for some of the photos we were looking for, and we were down to the last day. It was a Saturday. And we were on the last lake, and we were catching some fish. They were okay, but sure enough, pretty soon, Shelly and Chantel right behind her kind of ventures off just a little bit of ways, not that far. And it goes back to the analogy, sometimes small moves are big moves, So not that far away, and all of a sudden, bam, they were catching these ginormous crappies. It was like, oh my God, the biggest crappies that any of us have ever seen. And it was just like, I totally give Shelly credit for that thing. And so we got in there, some of us joined in, and we all caught a bunch, and we had some for the photos. And then we ended our day and went to meet the public group that was fishing with a bunch of local guides. And we pull up and we pull these crappies out of the bucket, and these local guides' jaws dropped down. They could not believe it. Remember that?
Yeah, and then the spot was loaded with people by the time we left.
Oh, I know. They zipped right over there.
Yeah.
It's funny because this documentary that they did that you mentioned earlier, Angie, it shows the drone footage of us driving from our spot over to meet up with the main group. And when we get there, we pull out these crappies, so that's kind of all documented in this documentary. And if you want to see it on YouTube, it's still on YouTube. If you go to YouTube and search for Northern Exposure Fishing with the Women Ice Angler Project, Grass-Fed Media did an awesome job. This is a video that it creates an emotional response in the viewer, no matter who you are. Even my family had a huge emotional response, and that was, you got to watch it. We're going to put, Angie can put a link on this thing to that. Yeah. Can't you, Angie? You do everything like that.
I was just writing a note for myself to remember to do
I think
that.
I'm going to play it at Christmas. I miss it.
Oh my gosh. Well, I am so looking forward to this year, and this year we made some changes. I mean, last year, what I just mentioned, the gals were out with different local guides because we didn't feel like we could commit to helping them because we didn't know if we'd have all our work done. Well, this year we said, screw it. We want to fish with these women that have been so supportive of us. That's the thing. These other women have been so supportive of us in this project. So we want to make sure that we're out fishing with them all day. And that's one of the big changes about this year's project. So, Lake Superior can be very intimidating. It's hard to get out there on your own. So having and we're not experts over there. We're definitely using a local guide, and his name is Tommy Hicks from Beyond the Catch Guide Service. And if it wasn't for him, I mean, it'd take us a lot longer to figure things out, but he's usually pretty dialed in. So we're thankful for his help too. But I'm really looking forward to fishing with all those gals, and it's almost sold out. Do you know that, Shelly?
Wow. Yeah. I figured it would be because it's just a phenomenal place, and what an adventure, beautiful scenery and great fishery. I mean, I'm sure it'll sell out fast.
One of the things that's so ironic about the whole thing is, Angie, you mentioned this prior show that we did with Shelly. She talks about this utopia, this great place that she has her business where she has her tour boat. She's taken a charter boat. She's a captain of a boat that takes people out exploring these islands in the Impossible Islands.
I know. It's going to be so fun for me.
That's where we're ice fishing. It's the same spot.
I saw that on the map, and that is so cool.
Yeah. I can't get it. It's in my head about next summer already. I love that place so much. And you guys are going to see so many beautiful ice things that are happening on the rocks and stuff when we go fishing. It's going to be such a memory for the girls that are going and for everyone that's going. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, for sure. And Angie, I hope you're in my group, because I'm so looking forward to sharing this experience with you. I mean, we've been working so hard as partners from across the country from each other, and haven't really had it. We've only met each other that one time. Yep. So to be able to fish together, I'm really looking forward to that.
That would be a blast.
I know, and I hope I get to fish with you too, but I'm just going to be happy to meet you. So I look forward to that, Angie.
Yeah, I can't wait to meet everyone. I've heard so much about everybody and the people that have been on the show and are going to be on the show in the future. It's just so cool to meet people in person.
One of the other things is, remember we did that show from Fish Camp, how all those women were there? Well, we're going to be doing a show from the ice at this event. So how fun is that going to be, talking to all these women out when you're fishing on, and we're going to be fishing in anywhere from 40 to 100 feet of water, out on Lake Superior. It's just like, oh my gosh, it's going to be fantastic.
Oh, I can't wait to see a big one, and it takes them a half an hour or more to reel it up. Oh, it'll feel like 5 minutes. It goes by so fast.
Ooh, I might not be able to sleep between now and then.
Well, I can guarantee you'll be sleeping the night after you fish, because I fished half a day today and I'm exhausted. It's just, it's being out there. It's just exhilarating.
That's another thing I love about it. I like my butt kicked. You know what I mean? You do sleep better after fresh air and hauling that gear around and just putting your body to the test. It's awesome.
Well, it gives you motivation to stay in shape, that's for sure.
I was just going to say, I better start hitting the gym pretty hard here. Get some conditioning in.
Last year, I would bend down a lot. I was like doing squats and picking up stuff and just touching the ground, trying to get my legs and everything in shape for ice fishing, because you're doing a lot of grabbing at the hole, hopefully, getting that fish up. So, yeah, it's a lot of work.
And well worth it.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Well, before we close this out, I just kind of want to mention a couple of the sponsors of this project. Fleet Farm, this is our big new sponsor. I mean, this is a major Midwest company. They have all sorts of kind of outdoor and farming and hunting and fishing and all sorts of gear that they sell. And for them to get on board with this project kind of really makes us feels way more legitimate, because it's just not a fishing company. It's like a regular big time business in the Midwest. And Clam Outdoors has been with us there from the beginning. I mean, Shelly and I both are on the ice team for Clam, and they have done so much to support,
really
that's all the gear we're using, the shacks and the suits and all that stuff. In Vexlar too, that's the electronics company and Jiffy Ice Hoggers. I mean, they give us stuff that we can actually turn into cash, and these projects need to be funded. And when it's a grassroots thing that a bunch of women that are passionate about something, they want to get a mission done, we still got to pay the bills. No one's paying us to do it, and it's not, you can't do it for free. So that, but everything is just falling into place so good. So many women are coming with us, and we couldn't be more excited about the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm really happy to be a part of it. Thanks, Barb.
Yeah, we got a really good crew, and I'm really excited to be able to have shows with everyone in the crew. Everyone brings a little something different to the table. Some are really strong anglers, and Shelly, she is, like, in my opinion, the best angler out of the group. Then we have people that are awesome writers, because the story has to be told, and great photographers. This year, Chrissy Mason, our photographer, you are going to see some images coming out of this.
I know. I can't wait. I'm so excited.
I know, right? It's like, and plus other people too, you catch a nice fish, and to have a really good picture of you holding this nice fish. I mean, that's nice. How many times have you had it caught what you thought was a really nice fish, and you ask your buddy, hey, take a picture, and then you get home and you look at it and it's terrible.
And the tail's cut off. Oh, the tail's cut off, or my head is cut off.
So we're excited to be able to bring to you each of the ladies in this ice series that was Angie's brainchild. And, I'm so excited about this show and our listeners and our fans and the people that are engaging on our Facebook page, because they're sharing stories and pictures, and it just makes me want to fish with these women that are all over the country doing just amazing things. And we want to tell their stories, because so many of them are just unbelievably amazing. If you go to our page and look at some of the pictures they're posting and the stories and the introductions of themselves, it's cool.
It is. It's really inspiring. And I thought we were doing it, but they're doing it too.
Yeah, a lot of women are doing it. We're not there's all across the country, and that's what's nice about having Angie down in Nashville. And I got to give Angie kudos too, because if it wasn't for her, none of this would be happening, because she's the brains behind this operation. I try to give her credit for that as much as I can, because she's the one. Yeah, really. I mean, she's the one that's putting it all together. I'm just kind of the, lady out fishing and talking to people, and Angie is just keeping this ship floating. That's for sure.
Well, I enjoy it, and I just have a blast. I love editing your interviews, Barb. I just did one today that will already have been out by the time that this one comes out, but it was a blast. I can't wait for it.
Well, Barb's good. You are. You're a really good interviewer.
I love talking. It's so easy when you're talking to women about hunting and fishing and adventure, getting that story out. That's what it's all about. And again, thank you for the people that are listening to this. And I hope you stick with us and subscribe and help us share the word, because we want your story told, not just our story. We're trying to tell your story as well. And, hopefully, more of you will come forward and we'll hear more about some other women that are doing amazing things in other places.
Yeah. Sounds great.
Well, what else you got, Angie? Anything?
Shelly, what are you most excited about for this year's event in particular?
Well, I think being that it's been 5 years now, I feel like I really have dug into what this is now. I think it's grown on us and is a part of us like it hasn't been before. And I love that. And I love that we're going to be fishing and taking these women out, because I do love fishing with other women. The energy is so different than when I fish with the boys, and it's great energy. And then for sure, the fact that it's the Apostle Islands. Oh my gosh, the islands have stolen my heart. You will see why. They're beautiful. They're mysterious, Lake Superior's kind of eerie, but it's also cool, and it's majestic up there. It's so beautiful, and I can't wait to get back there in open water too. That's all I think about.
Well, that's awesome. That's going to make for some amazing photography, I'm sure, too.
Oh gosh, the ice, the way it gets up on the rocks and drips down and the trees are covered. Oh yeah, I can take you to some great spots. We'll have to get over to Madeline Island, the state park, and beautiful photos over there. I don't know if we'll have time, but we should try to make time.
Well, maybe Angie will have to come back in the summer, and we'll have you back as a third-time guest. We'll do a show from the boat.
There you go.
Yes,
that would be.
I'll take you to an island. We can camp out on the island and sleep on the boat. And the starry nights are, phenomenal. There's one star after another. I mean, it's endless stars. They're so bright out there on Lake Superior, especially when there's no moon. It's just unbelievable.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. Would love to have you out there.
I'd love it. I wish I could just, like Barb said before, we'll just travel the country, fish with all our listeners and everybody we've had on the show. Wouldn't that be the dream?
Well, you gotta think it first.
Yep.
Yeah, we need Oprah as a sponsor. That's what we need, right?
Yeah.
One day Pandora, the next day Oprah.
There you go. One step at a time, we'll get there.
Yeah, and that's the way my whole life has worked. I just thought it, and then you when you think it and it starts going to in your head to be a really good idea, you know it, and then it does. It just things fall into place. Yeah.
Well, it's I tell you, my life has changed from meeting women like both of you guys, and I just can't say enough about having these opportunities and these experiences, and that's what I said, like Christmas, is just actually, when you hear this, it's probably going to be past, but instead of buying that crap, give experiences to people. Give an experience to yourself. Gift yourself a gift of an experience.
Definitely.
That's my advice.
Yeah. Memories last forever.
Yeah, that's for sure. And we got some big plans for the future. Shelly and I we're talking big plans for later this winter on some of these fishing adventures we're going on. And I know, I hope that I'm going to get down there and fish with Angie on her houseboat. You know that she lives on a houseboat? Shelly, did you know that?
Excuse me, no, I didn't know that. And now she's even cooler than she already was. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, Angie. I sleep on my boat when I'm up at the Apostle Islands.
I don't ever have any desire to live on land for as long as I live.
Oh my gosh. You gotta send pictures. I gotta figure out how I can see this. So I can get down.
Come down to Nashville.
I would love
there we go.
to. Yeah. I would love to.
If you're not serious, don't invite Shelly because someone will invite her and the next day she's on the plane going there. I've seen it firsthand.
I did. I got to go to Alaska for my 50th birthday. On my birthday, get picked up in a limo and drive 2 hours north and fish for kingfisher salmon.
Wow.
It was the best birthday ever. And she had just invited me a couple weeks earlier.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love having guests on my houseboat. I love sharing the joy of being on it with as many people as I can. I've got 2 extra bedrooms, so come on.
Oh, wow. That is awesome.
A 3-bedroom houseboat.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, my gosh.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Hey, and
that's
by the way,
wonderful.
all 3 of us are captains. Did you know that?
Oh,
Angie just got her captain's license, so all 3 of us are captains.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank
oh
you.
My gosh. We should come
was
down
pretty
and
cool.
celebrate.
I think you should.
All right.
We'll take a boat ride.
Shelly, that's something to look for in the future. We're going to have to get her on the ice first, and then she'll have to pay us back by showing us some of those Tennessee fish down there. But thank you, Shelly, so much for talking to us today, and thank you for being part of the Women Ice Angler Project, man. You have made it legit, let me tell you.
Oh, you guys know, thank you. I grin from ear to ear when I talk about it, hear about it, even talking to you. And so I'm just happy. I'm so happy to be a part of it.
Thanks once again for joining us. We'll see you back here next week for our second Women on Ice series episode. If you haven't done so already, please check out our Facebook group so you can connect with a host of other women just like you who are getting out there and doing some amazing things in the outdoors. There'll be a link to that in the show notes at thewomanangler.com/40. Thanks again for joining us, and can't wait to see you back here next week.